Hello and welcome back to this masterclass series. Today I have Mindi Huebner on the masterclass series on the podcast as well. And we're going to dive deep into the subconscious mind, everything manifestation, and more. So I'm super excited to have you here with us, Mindi.
I am thrilled to be able to go into this rabbit hole with you. Everyone's going to have their minds blown, and I know that by the end, we're going to make the mystery of the subconscious a whole lot more tangible so people can start creating that alignment and showing up how they want to show up on the regular.
Yeah, I love that. I'm super excited. Before we dive into like the topics that I wanted to bring up, I do like to get people's backgrounds a little bit in terms of like how the heck did you even get here? But I also know that it's like a very overused question. So I would love to ask you like why the subconscious mind? Like how did it come across your radar? Like why did you decide to like specialize in this?
Yes. When I realized that I had a subconscious belief that rest was lazy and it was stopping me from having everything that I wanted in a really sustainable way, I did the rabbit hole on habits. I didn't immediately know to go to subconscious identity. Like I had to get a little deeper first. Habits. Why do we do what we do? How does our brain work? And I just started. I'm a Manny Gen, a 1-3 line. So I'm a researcher. Like I want to know all the things. And I researched NLP and neuroscience. And then I started collecting certifications because, again, I want to know all the things. And I realized through life coaching, health coaching, success coaching, it's all identity based. It's all subconscious identity based. That is literally how we run everything. And so that's where I wanted to start so that I wasn't trying to, I'm going to use my husband's word, lipstick on a pig, right? Like I wasn't trying to put a band-aid on some surface level thing. Nope, we just went right to the subconscious identity, created safety, then boom, we could make moves forward.
Yeah, I totally relate to that because for me too, I started out in the health field and it was just like I was all about the root cause, but then I was like, actually, nutrition isn't the root of the root of the root. And I was also hitting like roadblocks and like, why the heck can't I get better or like get past this like ceiling in whatever area of my life, or like, why do I keep repeating this struggle? And then, yeah, I came across subconscious mind and I was like, holy shit, this is it. So,
Holy shit.
yeah.
Exactly.
And now the rabbit hole never ends because
And
it's like, yes, we can see results fast, which is amazing because, as we'll probably talk about, subconscious work can accelerate results in like quantum leap, quote unquote. But there's also like a never ending, like continual evolution and like growth, and like it can get better and better and better and better. Um, and that being said, I know for me, this sort of came up because there were things that I was not creating or manifesting in my life, even though I like put in the work, visualized all of these things, repeated affirmations. But I think a lot of people get frustrated with that too, especially when it comes to like the manifesting world. Which essentially I want to sort of like bring it back down to earth because we are always manifesting. And I'd love to get like your sort of rant on that in terms of like manifesting from the subconscious mind, and also like why might somebody keep like manifesting stuff in their life that they don't want? Because I think some people can get really, what's the word, frustrated, and it's like, but I don't want, why some people are like, you're always manifesting, but then it's like, but I don't want that. So I'd love for you to have
Mhm,
like a rant on
mhm.
that.
Yes, yes. So I want to agree in as much as I saying you're always winning the game you're playing. You're always winning the game you're playing. Your brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on your beliefs. So let's take me for an example. If I believed that rest was lazy all those years ago, and my brain deleted, distorted, and generalized based on the belief that rest was lazy, do you think that I could see any proof to the opposite of that? No, all my filters were showing me, right? Rest was lazy, hustle was the only way to get what you want. So much data is coming at us, bits of data in a given day, that our brain has to have a filtering system so we don't become that little exploding head emoji. So it filters it. This is cognitive dissonance. This is all those things, right? It has to have a filtering system. On top of the deleting, the sorting, and generalizing, you've got your RAS, your reticular activating system, that in really simplified terms, brings you what you anticipate and expect. So I would say to you, everyone listening, you're not manifesting more bad shit. You are unable to see the path to the better stuff because you're deleting, distorting, and generalizing, and your RAS is bringing you what you anticipate and expect, which are things that you don't want. So it's all you can see. That is, in my not so humble opinion, what it really looks like to manifest things you don't want. I don't believe that you are purposefully bringing things that you don't want into your life. For me, it's you get to switch your perspective and start to intentionally see paths to bring a different result. Because your subconscious runs 95% of what you do. And the other piece of that is if it is not safe in your subconscious identity, quote unquote, for all of you just listening, safe in your identity to make a shift, to practice a new way of being, to get a different result, you'll continue to self-sabotage. You'll continue to bring to yourself what you don't want because you know how to be that person. You don't have to think about it. Your subconscious likes to take the path of least effort, doesn't want to burn calories. It knows she thinks this, she feels this, we cue this habit. Like it is, you are a powerful, efficient machine who's always winning the game she's playing. So this is your opportunity to start having that hyper level of awareness and go, I don't want to play this damn game anymore. Like let's start allowing myself to get better results by recognizing that these are all automations that are running and start creating safety so that I can flex that subconscious confidence muscle and step out a little bit and a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely agree. And I think when I first started to learn about like manifestation, it was very like woo-woo. But then when I started to learn about the RAS, the reticular activating systems, the conscious mind, etc., and also the stories of like when people start doing this work where it's just like even like the next day, it's like, well, I had the story about like, I don't know, no one wants my services or whatever. And then like the next week or something, they get an email that comes out of nowhere and like things like that, where it's like time can just collapse. But
I
I'd
would
love
love,
to,
I'd
sorry, go
love to
ahead.
share a time collapse story.
Yeah,
I'm
I'd
sorry,
love
I
for you to
didn't.
share like some stories like that, especially because I think manifestation is really hard to like comprehend in the human brain of like, how does what's happening in my brain actually like bring stuff in the universe into my reality? And it's just like very kind of hard for us to grasp. But yeah, if you have stories or anything that you'd want to share, please do.
Well, part of it is it's already around you. You just don't see it. You are unable to see it because again, you're filtering, you're deleting, you're distorting, you're generalizing based on your beliefs. So I have a client, extremely successful, extremely successful. And she wanted to do $1 million in revenue in 1 year. Had she already made $1 million in her business? Yes. She wanted to do 1 million in 1 year. She had a limiting belief around what it meant to be the entrepreneur who did the 7 figures in 1 year. It meant all these things. It subconsciously, it wasn't safe because it meant giving up time, and her time freedom is massive. She works 20 hours a week. That's it. Not 1 minute more. This is it. She thought, she believed, oh, that means I have to give up time. It means giving up power over XYZ. It also means showing up inauthentically because she was looking at other entrepreneurs who, no shade to them, she didn't want their lives. They were hitting the $1 million in a year and they had a life she didn't want. What did she make that mean? What game was she playing? She played the game, well, then that means I can't have that. So could she see a path to it? Could she see a path to it being safe? Nope. We had one 15-minute laser session to pull that up and shine it in the light, right? And it just withered in the light. Like, wait a minute. You don't have to be anybody you don't want to be to hit this. 3 months. It took her 3 months to hit the million. 3 months. that is
Wow.
collapsing time.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that's like super inspiring because sometimes it's just like you get the gist of it, but then you're like when you hear real life stories, that's where it just gives me chills. And there's so many stories. Um, what I also wanted to sort of talk about is kind of in the same realm, like if you do keep attracting the same people, patterns, problems, it's kind of like, in dating with money, like same income, same job. You change jobs, it's like the same boss, but a different boss, etc. And for me, especially when it comes to like looking at my life, oftentimes when things are like one off, like circumstantial, okay, but when things are a pattern, that's when I know it's like, okay, it's probably coming from me. And it's not that I'm to blame, because again, we're not creating this because we want to, but it's really getting curious around like, why do I keep attracting or even creating these patterns, right? Is
So
that like a
to
fair thing to look at in terms of like if it's a repetitive thing?
Definitely, definitely. So, a couple things around that. We think a thought habitually, it becomes an I am statement. And I am, the words we say after I am, some of the most powerful words in the universe, right? It creates then a sensation in our body, an emotion in our body, feelings. We are so powerful, we then create a habit to prove it to ourselves. So anything that you're saying to yourself on repeat, and everyone listening, you can right now pause and think, okay, what do I say to myself regularly that's empowering? And what do I say to myself regularly that's disempowering? Because you're winning both those games right now. So somewhere in your life, you're pumping yourself up, is my guess, right? Like, woo, look at, like I don't know, make a really good XYZ. I don't know, like you're a great chef or you're a gardener or something. You have some skill, some way of being where you really talk yourself up and you say good things about yourself. So you say, I am amazing. I am whatever that is. And you prove it to yourself. Same with the other. I find that women will offhandedly, I'm a hot mess. I'm going to invite you to quit cracking that joke. Because the repeated habitualness of it, right? You'll start winning that game. So does that mean that if you start walking around saying, I am a millionaire, that immediately you're going to be a millionaire? Maybe. I'll tell you what, like if you walk around believing it and like it's automatic and habitual that you're saying it, you'll see more paths to being a millionaire, to becoming the woman who allows income to come into her life in all different ways. So that's the first part of that. The other part is let's talk mindset and identity. Mindset is our relationship with something. So, my relationship with rest, my mindset around rest was no good. I had a bad relationship with rest. I deserved, it was essential, it was vital that I repaired that relationship with rest. That I wrapped my head around what it got to mean to have a healthy relationship with rest in order to then like believe that rest was okay for me. And underneath the mindset, here we are, lipstick on a pig again. We can't just, oh, positive thinking, oh, slap a good vibe on that, if the underneath is not in alignment with that. Because our mindset is very conscious. When we make a decision about something, like we get to be consciously, intentionally shifting our mindset. The root of that is our subconscious identity, and that is our repeated way of beingness. And so you find resistance when those two things are crashing up against each other. When what you want your conscious identity to be is different from your subconscious identity. And I will say that if you're experiencing resistance and you're trying on a new way of being, some new ways of showing up, new ways of eating or moving, or if you're an entrepreneur selling things like creating new products and you're feeling resistance, I'm going to invite you to do a little check-in. If it's a 6, 7, or 8, you're on the verge of a breakthrough. You are moving into alignment. That is, for most of us, a good level of resistance, because what you're doing is you're really stretching your known zone because your subconscious wants to keep you in the known. It's really easy there, right? You know how to be the person. in the known zone. So if you feel that 6, 7, or 8, that stretch, lean in, ask yourself, what can I do more of to create this breakthrough? What can I think more of? What can I, right? Like, where can I lean into this new way of being more? And if it's at a 9 or a 10, I'm going to invite you to take a step back and do a check in. Either this is against your core values, what you say you want is actually completely against your core values. So, a really easy example is I want to make a lot of money, but I want to do it really ethically. And so, if you are leaning into like some really unethical ways of being, you're going to have all this resistance, and that's a good thing, right? That's a gut check for you. So, take that step back if it's at a 9 or a 10 and check in. And the other thing that it'll tell you is, oh, do I really want this? If this resistance is at a 9 or a 10, it's time to actually check in with what I've said I wanted consciously and see, like, did I really go deep enough to decide that this is really what I want?
I love that. Thank you for going deep into that. I totally relate to the hot mess because that's actually a realization I had like 1 or 2 years ago where I was just like repeating that. And then one day I was like, why do I keep repeating this? Because it was like I saw all of the proof. I'm a hot mess because of this, I'm a hot
Yes.
mess because of that. And then I was just like, this isn't actually like who I don't want to be a hot mess. So why do I keep like repeating this? Because then
Mhm.
it literally becomes like what you see and hear all day because you just keep repeating it to yourself. So I like totally relate to the hot mess. And it was like mind blowing when I finally just saw it. Because sometimes you
Well,
don't even realize, you know?
exactly. And that's that, like I said before, that hyper level of awareness about who we're being, what we're believing, the words that we're saying. A really simple, easy way to start rewiring your brain, to start reprogramming your subconscious identity is in checking the self-talk that you have, because the self-talk is like the mother of every other form of self-sabotage. That inner critic, she feeds all the perfectionism and procrastination and all the other, well, I can't even think of another one right now, but all the other forms of self-sabotage, overthinking, indecision, right? All of that, that self-talk, that negative self-talk, that's where it all comes from. Because ultimately it's all based in, do we believe we're worthy? Right? Do we have to consistently prove ourselves? Which, shining a light on myself, that was me. Rest is lazy. Therefore, hustle is the only way to do this, because I believed I had to prove my worth through my accomplishments, through my achievements. Every time I achieved, then I was valuable, right? And untangling that was what I call the good hard work. Like you said, we never get it done because there's a new expansion every time. And I think you'll also agree with me, and it's okay if you don't. I'm ready to fight about it. That I'm just teasing. That we are not. I'm not asking people. Okay, I'm gonna speak for myself, and we'll see if Lawrence agrees. I am not asking people to become someone new. What I'm actually inviting you into is to shed the conditioning that is keeping you from your authentic self, the one that leads from self trust, the one that lets go of the pressure to prove, the one that says, fuck it. that is the version that I am inviting you to embody who you truly are.
Yeah, and that's a great segue to like the next part that I want to talk about. But I 100% agree because all of these things that are like limiting, like we didn't come on into the world like that. We picked it up from society, parents, etc., which is very based in scarcity, lack, limitation for many reasons, which we could go down a rabbit hole forever. But yes, I 100% agree because I think that's a lot of the work that we do. It's shedding all of the shit that we just don't want to be. And it's really not who we are. We just pick this up because, fitting in. And basically, number one is fitting in. Like, how do we fit into society? And a lot of it is like, I'm going to put on this mask and not be too weird, too loud, too emotional, too this, too that. So then we're all just kind of walking on eggshells and not being really who we are. And so I totally agree with that. It's really like a deconditioning process. And I think that with the whole identity work, it's really important to talk about because I think a lot of people can get stuck in the whole concept of like, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of people come to you who are just like, I've always been an anxious person. I've always been like this. I've always been like that. And it's just like we are reinforcing already by repeating this identity that we created in order to fit in, be safe, etc., which we will get into. Um, and so the identity, I think a lot of people can have this misinterpretation of like identity is fixed and I am just this way. And I think it's easy to confuse that because when we talk, we work with the conscious mind of like, I keep trying to change, I keep falling off the wagon, I keep reverting back, and blah, blah, blah. But that's because we're working with the conscious mind, which is, I mean, we talked about 95%
Yeah, so
of
it's
your
like,
mind is subconscious that's creating reality. So
right.
the subconscious mind is the one that houses the identity, right? And if people don't know that, then they're going to be like, well, I tried to change, but I couldn't. So I guess my identity is fixed. And so I really want the message to come across that like your identity isn't fixed. And it comes back to what you just said, like you're not becoming someone different, but you're shedding the stuff that isn't you, right?
Yes, yes. And to go along with what you just said, your every identity, whether the identity is an emotion or a state, like you said, I'm anxious, I'm an anxious person, so that identity, or it's more based in I'm a coach or I'm a mom or I'm a okay, so one of those types of identities. Every identity is a role with a goal. Every single one. We cycle through identities in this way all day long. And so the challenges come in when identities, conflicting identities are bumping up against each other, and when we are so in an identity that has become a box instead of feeling expansive. And so especially I was thinking about the anxious one, and we're not talking about diagnosed any sort of medical diagnosis, anything like that. We're talking about, the state, the feeling. Like, we've all felt anxious before in some way, shape, or form. So again, I just say, like, we're not spiritually bypassing, we're not doing anything like that. This is, if every identity is a role with a goal, the identity of feeling anxious, there is a benefit and a payoff. And it's not like the role of feeling anxious is not the opposite. If you're angry, the goal of that identity is not to be happy. When you're in anger, when you're in anxiousness, the goal is to be in that state, be in that identity, because you have decided, concluded, believed that there's gain there. There's benefit there. Most of the time it's protection.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All the
Yeah.
time. It's all the
Yeah.
time. It's some sort of subconscious protection.
Yeah, and that's where I love the sort of reframe of like self-sabotage because it's very like shamey energy to like self-protection of
Protection.
like your subconscious mind is trying to protect you. And we're definitely gonna go into a little bit of that. But in terms of like the concept of like deconditioning from who you are not and coming back to like who you actually are, I wanted to chat about like how childhood programming can be running the show. When it comes to money, love, relationships, career, etc. Oftentimes, some people even talk about like, well, they're just lucky, or they're just the person who makes money in this lifetime. It's not for me. But oftentimes, again, it comes down to like, what did you notice growing up? Because for me, for example, the area of my life that there's been many challenges, well, health, but then also money. And I've also noticed like there's lots of stories around money that I saw growing up. And so I think obviously every person has a little bit of different, like oftentimes we'll have like, oh, my main challenges are in relationship or in this or that, sometimes a bit of everything. But I'd love to sort of hear what you have to say around like how the childhood experience really sets
Mm-hmm.
us up in terms of the programming inside of a subconscious mind and how we can bring that into adulthood. And then we basically have this personality and this experience where we're creating these patterns and we keep repeating it until we start to look at it, right?
Yes, yes. And so you just said, let's just use money because this is a big one for a lot of people. Money, you have to work hard for money. But I am from a family of overachievers, like overworkers. I'm trying to think what's the word? Like workaholics. Right? And so that was programmed into me. My mom, my dad, my husband is an overachiever. Like I married one, you know. We were like magnets to each other. Oh, look, two people that want to work all the time, right? Like that think that hustle is the only way to do things. So we get those messages, whether they are subliminal, like we're just watching people and picking up on it, or they're being said to us, or it's in our experience, like there's not enough. Like there's not enough. Everyone's working and there's not enough. You have to work hard in order to have money. Like any of those experiences can shift and color and condition, right, what you believe. And so when you get to a place where you're like, wow, I can't seem to break this cycle, whatever this pattern is, whether it's health, whether it's relationships, whether it's money, that is your opportunity. And you said something that you won't know is just like a big like beam of light for me. So I don't like to actually ask the question why unless we're talking about our dreams and schemes and goals and visions and plans. Like, ask why in the direction of everything that you want. When we ask why in the direction of self protection, disempowered patterns that we're repeating, all of that kind of stuff, typically, in my experience, and I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of women, we tell a story. We say because, and then we tell a story. And there's no shade. This is how we're programmed. It just comes out, right? It just falls right out. Anytime you say to try it on a child, like, oh, why did you do that? Well, because, and we just, that is a neural pathway that's so ingrained that we can't help but tell a story. So instead of trying to fight the story that just automatically wants to tumble out, I love the question, what? And you said it. You're like, what makes me? What did I experience? What, like, when? When did I decide? And you might not have the answer. You might not get the like, it was June 4th, 19, 87. However, your brain, your subconscious, right, will take you back to, well, I sort of decided when I was experiencing all this, right? I decided that relationships were really hard work when my parents got divorced or when, you know, I saw XYZ get married this many times or when, right? Like, and I repeated those patterns. Like I proved to myself that, yeah, they're really hard work because I kept showing up in a way that matched what I saw to that. I have a client who was raised by a single mom, and one of the things that she picked up then, which we haven't talked about, but it's related to health, is she's always got to be doing, moving, being. Like her mom worked hard to feed them and get them in things, and so she went to college and she's like constantly doing and achieving to make her mom proud, which her mom's already proud, right? It's this story that she told herself. My mom sacrificed so much for us that I then have to like never be, just be. Like literally this client, her homework so many times is just to be and notice and not do something because she's so on the hamster wheel after being conditioned by a mom who had no choice, right? Like that's the other thing. I my what I try to hold really close is we're all doing the best we can with the tools that we have. And I mean, that's not 100% true for some people. However, right? Like That makes me feel better. I don't need to shame someone for conditioning. I get to then look within and go, okay, how do I get to switch some of this negative self-talk, some of this belief about relationships, about my worth equaling my, that I have to do anything to prove my worth or my value, those types of things. Did I answer your
Yeah, no, I
question? Or did
completely
I just?
agree. And yeah, that's something that especially when we're growing up, like it's all about us. So for example, if a parent is ignoring you, it's not
Mhm.
because they're busy, it's because I did something wrong, something's wrong
Right.
with me, right? So we internalize it and then we create stories that are about us, but sometimes it literally and oftentimes it literally has nothing to do about us. It's literally the external circumstances, but we've internalized that experience and then we create this story, this identity years and years and years later that we're like, and then if we don't actually question it, like you mentioned, like, when did I decide that?
Yeah.
Then we can realize, like, oh, I'm actually not this or that. And so I think that can be like so profound. I've had many moments like that. And even just like a super micro example, I think one time when I was just like feeling really stuck in my business and then I was really diving into the money stuff and I realized like I didn't actually my subconscious didn't want to actually make more money because I had this belief that I would just have to give it all away, and one of the things was to my parents because they sacrificed so much, so I felt like I was just going to have to owe them like basically everything and that I wouldn't be able to even enjoy any of it. And I actually brought it up to them because I was just like going through this work and they were like, what? No, like obviously that's not like what we expect. So it's just to say that like oftentimes we have these stories that we've created a story about ourselves, but it's actually not true. And we can create, or even sometimes the story is true. Like I've actually noticed like sometimes that story could be true in certain ways, but like do you actually want it to be, and do you want it to be your truth? I think is really powerful too, because essentially we're the ones who are creating the story, right? So yeah, I think that's super powerful to also that's something I also learned on this journey is that I actually became obsessed with digging into the reasons of like, why am I like this? Why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? Why do I keep, and it was actually really not helping me because first of all I was focusing on everything like I had to fix. And
Yeah.
oftentimes that will keep you in the healing hamster wheel where you're like, well, I have to go figure out where this block came from. But then essentially you're just like, don't take action or do anything to change it. You're just trying to find it. And then your ego is on this rabbit hole, wild goose chase that will never end because you will always find something else to fix. So I think that that is also something that you can fall into a trap with when it comes to like, I need to figure out where all these blocks are coming from. Whereas like you can
Exactly.
literally just create a new story for yourself and be like, I don't want to believe that anymore. I feel like that can be
Yes.
so much more powerful, you
Well,
know?
exactly. Who would I be without this belief? Is moving forward, right? So I love that you said the story could be true. There are facts and there are limiting beliefs, right? So there are facts. Like the number in your bank account is a fact. If you're on a health journey, you're trying to lose weight, the number on the scale is it is a fact. It's data though. It's strictly data. It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't make you good or bad. I worked with a mindset coach a long time ago, and I remember I was just starting to build an email list, and I said, I had a call with her, and she's like, "What's going on, Mindy?" And I said, I have this limiting belief that like building an email list is hard. She goes, "That's not a limiting belief, that's a fact." She said, "Now, who you're being and building the list is what's limiting you. Who do you want to be? How do you want to build the list? Do you want to have fun building the list? Do you want to create, like, so the fact that some things are hard work is the truth. Like, some things are hard work. That's okay, right? Who do we want to be in making those things happen? And what do we want to make the hard work mean or make the data mean about us? Because that's the other piece. We will give something meaning without ever revisiting it. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, we're 35 and we're like, when did I decide that? Right? When did I decide that I had to, right, be this, do that, all those kinds of things? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's important to acknowledge, like, you know, life is life and there are things that are going to be hard. But then I think, especially as humans and women, I've noticed like to make things harder than they need to be. And this can play into that. So I think that's also something to acknowledge of like, yes, things can be hard, but like oftentimes we'll make them so much harder than they actually
Well,
can be, right?
and I think that beautifully takes us right back to self-protection. So limiting beliefs also, so you're the story that you so lovely shared about, well, if I make money, then I have to give it all away, right? So ultimately, that protected you from what you thought it was protecting you from failure. Because then, well, then I don't have to try to make any money because I just have to give it away anyway. So then I
Yeah.
don't have to do any of the work to get there. And it's the same thing with our health journey. It's the same thing with relationships. Well, if I don't make the effort, then I can't fail at it, right? I'll just be like, well, I like here's my belief about it. Like we're wild. We're so wild. And it's not logical necessarily. And there's no shame in that either, because like you said, so many of these things happen to us. We're formed like from like 1 to 7. So much of that is formed from everything. And if you're like me, you also believe in generational and past lives, and we bring things along from there too. And so, like releasing that conditioning, it's not always logical. Like your logical brain looks at something and goes, well, that's doesn't make any sense, and yet you still keep doing it. Yeah, it's because it's subconscious, right? Like
Yeah.
it's yeah. And something that we didn't say, your subconscious thinks in pictures and sounds and feelings. And so your logical brain is writing out goals and setting deadlines and doing these things. And so when we logically set a goal or say we want something, right? We do it in the 3D world. Well, subconsciously, we get to tie that with pictures and sounds and feelings and symbols. And so this is where SMART goals like miss the mark for so many people because we just set them with our logic, like with our conscious, like 5% when another 95 is running it. So the way to like knock those out of the park and start becoming the woman who actually gets her goals, not just sets them, is to align your subconscious with that. So, what's it going to feel like? How will I know that I'm on the path to success? To building an email list, to dialing in my health, to having a healthier relationship with money, with time, with whatever it is, with another human.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because again, when we're just sort of willpowering our way logically trying to achieve, we're not using the 95% of the subconscious mind, which is just like the Ferrari versus like the Volkswagen or whatever. I'm not great with cars.
I
But
like that. That's a good one.
yeah, but the emotional, it's really tapping for me. It was even wild when I was doing like, and I continue to do them, but there was a there was a time when I was doing like visualizations every day, but like really tapping into the emotion where it was like I could feel like I was in it. And there are multiple things that I manifested, like literally people, opportunities, and then even like a house that I didn't even realize. Like there was this like A-frame sort of cabin house that I had on my vision board. And I think like within the year, we ended up on this like beach location with this A-frame that looks scarily like the one. And then I literally told my boyfriend, like, did you notice like that kind of looks like the house that we're in right now? And I hadn't even realized it. Like it's just the as you mentioned, the images are so powerful. And when you pair that with like the emotion, but like actually feeling it, not just like bullshitting it, because then it doesn't work, you know? So that was
Exactly.
like that blew my mind where I was like, what? It's literally the exact same thing. But anyways, that just kind of like reinforced all of this. But I know that we're kind of, getting short on time, but I really wanted to just touch on even just quickly, because I know you have been in, the wellness sort of area before and touching on that, and me too. And I'd love to hear like your thoughts on the mind body connection and like what does your health have to do with subconscious mind? Because for me too, I've really seen the amazing benefits of bringing this work into even just healing and health with my clients, and even stories around like this elderly woman who had some sort of disease or condition, and but she was like getting a lot of care and attention from her family. And it was kind of getting into the concept of like your subconscious mind can actually create symptoms to get affection, love, recognition, versus if you don't have that, then it's like, oh, I don't get that attention anymore. So you can see like sometimes symptoms come up from like subconscious roots that we don't look at. And obviously there's like multifactorial issues in
That's,
terms of like
yes.
toxins, environmental,
That's
food.
very
Like it's not
fast.
just one thing. Like I want to
Yeah.
obviously address that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's interesting to see how I've heard of many stories in terms of health too that can definitely be associated with subconscious programs.
Well, and I would love to take this from the from the other side of that. And when I say that, like where you're not manifesting things you don't want in your body, right? You're reversing that. Why do I believe that that's possible, that mind body connection? Well, one of the reasons is like your RAS. Again, what are you anticipating and expecting? And therefore, you're going to see more proof of what you're anticipating and expecting. Your brain is deleting, distorting, and generalizing based on the belief of what I'm ill or I'm well, like, or I'm healing, right? I'm finding my path to healing. Like here's where I wanted to go a little bit deeper on words that we use, and I just sort of skipped over it. And so that is the one of the fastest way to start rewiring, which will rewire the mind body connection as well, those neurotransmitters. That's why we do hypnosis, because it creates a willing suspension of disbelief, right? Feeling so real, like visualizations, all those so real that your body is a robot for your mind. And so it will then do that. And so I'm really thinking about Dr. Joe Dispenza and just like seeing your body well and doing those kinds of things. Every time I've had an injury from running, anything like that, a nagging injury, something that lasted a long time, I would do a lot of visualization on seeing my body healthy and well. And again, I have never had a life-altering disease or anything like that. I'm speaking from my own experience. And also surrounding myself with people who um, believe in the power of their mind as well, and the words that I use around that too. Just switching the words to. So here's a really simple one. Instead of I should have and like should as a could with shame smeared on it, right? Like things about what you didn't do and I'm such a this and oh what's wrong with me, like that kind of stuff when you don't show up how you want to show up. Instead, I'm inviting you to just start reprogramming that from now on in the future next time. Just those three words alone, those phrases, will start this new mind body connection because we feel that in our body. We feel the shame that we put on ourselves. And we also then feel the possibility in from now on in the future next time. Next time, I'm gonna ask more questions. Next time, I'm gonna go for a walk first. Next time, I'm gonna go to bed earlier or whatever that looks like, right? Like that's giving ourselves this possibility that we then open up, which we can also feel physically in our bodies. And because we're talking, I did work, I have health coaching certification, and even now, my clients, right? Sometimes what we work on is their health goals as well, because I serve the woman who runs a business and she's got health goals and relationship goals and everything else. And success and your subconscious identity is so much more about who you're being than what you're doing. And I'm just going to use food, for example. If all you've got is a pizza, please don't shame yourself. I love pizza. Please don't shame yourself over the pizza or whatever ingredients it was made with, like that type of stuff. Give yourself space to let your rest and digest system turn on and enjoy the food, the company. Chew 25 times. Put your fork down in between. take it all in and let it be an experience. When we allow those really mundane, ordinary things in our life to become extraordinary, to become magical like that, it changes who we are. Again, then we're deleting, distorting, and generalizing based on the belief that I can eat XYZ and show up for myself. Because there's nothing worse than being stressed out about what you're eating, because then you're not getting the nutrients from it anyway. You're just causing more inflammation. You're like, all the stuff, right? You're literally not allowing your rest and digest, your parasympathetic to turn on. And so you're like defeating the purpose anyway. So slowing down, chewing, enjoying the process. I personally, this is another way we create that mind body connection that allows us to, heal our own bodies in many ways.
I love that. I love that you mentioned that too, because that's definitely something that hit home for me at the beginning of my journey when I was like so obsessed with the nutrition and I had so many food sensitivities, so many issues. And I was so stressed around food, always restrictive, always like anxious and like about anything I put in my mouth. And it literally led to like binge eating. Like it didn't matter how healthy I was eating. And now like it's such a more relaxed relationship, and it does make a big difference if you're eating your food stressed, even if it's like the most organic nutrient dense food, like it's
Seriously.
not going to translate. And yeah, that really does make a big impact, because we even have studies now with like the gut brain connection and all of these things that are like being backed by research and science, which is really awesome. Like even when you think about the water experiments by Emoto, like he was looking at like how water crystals can change in terms of like how we speak to them. And the same thing with plants. So like even when you think about like if you even say something, and I do this a lot with clients where they will think of a phrase or say a phrase like out loud, and it's something really negative, your body feels totally different, like heavy. And then if you start to say something that's like more positive, empowering, you also feel differently. So can you imagine if you just keep repeating those things, like how does your body feel? Like this isn't like woo woo, it's literally like energetics and subconscious and all of these things. So I think that's a really important point to bring up. And I love like all of Joseph Spence's work. Bruce Lipton also comes to mind, Joseph Murphy, like they've really touched in on that. So that's something if anyone's interested to really dive deeper. But in terms of shifting gears, let's get to the real tools that work. Like, because I think some people have heard of affirmations and visualizations, and maybe it's working for them, maybe it's not working so well. So, like, how do we really work with the subconscious mind? And what are like the most efficient ways?
For me, I like to start simply. And so I really like mental rehearsal. We'll talk about that. It's visualization on steroids, right? It's using our conscious and our subconscious. And well, let's just start there. I was going to say, and alchemized affirmations. I like those too. So both of these are simple tools, easy to get started with. Mental rehearsal, this is Olympic gold medalists use this. This is next level stuff for like if you really want to achieve. There's a couple things that mental rehearsal does too. When we mentally rehearse, which means we just see something like the path of something, and I'll give an example. But when we mentally rehearse, we also then lower our stress levels because the brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. And so if we imagine ourselves showing up in a certain way and accomplishing something that we want to accomplish, the next time we go to do that, whether it's mentally or actually, the brain's like, oh yeah, like we've done this. It negates some of that stress. It brings some of that stress level down. So therefore you're building your self-confidence because again, the brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So one of my favorite examples to give for mental rehearsal is first, a well-formed outcome, which means what's the result? Like a clear result. So let's use water. Let's say I want my clear result to be I drink 8 8-ounce glasses of water a day. I have a well-formed outcome. It's measurable, right? All the things. 8 8-ounce glasses of water a day. So if I'm going to mentally rehearse being that woman, and this can take 15 seconds, this can take 15 minutes. You get to spend as much time mentally rehearsing as you want to. I love a good like 5 to 10 mental rehearsal, but I mentally rehearse before I do it. So I mentally rehearsed before this. Like a 30-second mental rehearsal before we hopped on this masterclass together. So if I'm going to mentally rehearse drinking water, 8 ounce glasses of water a day, I'm going to see myself waking up first thing in the morning. I'm going to feel my feet hit the carpet, right? I'm going to see myself walking into the kitchen, getting a big glass of water right away. Maybe I have a little tracker where I go and I check it off. So I see it, I hear it, I feel it, I taste it, I smell it. I immerse myself. This is what I call the immersion method. We're going to dive into a swimming pool of being the woman who's drinking 8 ounce glasses of water a day. So I'm hearing the alarm go off on my phone that says, drink your water, hydrated women run the world, right? I am seeing myself. Maybe I have a big giant water bottle. Maybe you have one that's all 64 ounces. Maybe you have a couple different fun glasses. Like, make it fun for yourself to be this human in ways that you can create joy and ease in it. So I see myself drinking another glass of water and I see myself, with the water bottle or at the refrigerator, filling it up, all those kinds of things. I taste the water in my mouth. Maybe I add ice to it, right? And I feel the ice in my hand. Again, immersion. I'm seeing, I'm hearing, I'm tasting, I'm smelling. I'm feeling internally and externally. So let's be real. If I'm drinking that much water, I'm going to the bathroom. So I'm seeing myself go to the bathroom, right? Like all those things. Oh, which also is extra steps. So I'm getting steps in because I'm being hydrated as well. So, two birds, one seed, right? It gets to the end of the day. I see myself, I've been checking off my little list. I have got a sticky note on my bathroom mirror that says, did you have more water? Or whatever, all these ways that I'm reminding myself. I drink the last glass of water and I've got my feet kicked up for the day. And I'm like, yeah, that's who I am, right? I'm the woman who drinks 8 ounce glasses of water a day. Okay, so that just took me 3 minutes to talk us through that, or maybe less than that. That's visual, that's mental rehearsal. Visualization at the next level with the immersion method, because we've brought our conscious and subconscious together because we've got pictures and sounds and feelings, internal and external feelings. So my favorite secret weapon for that is getting into some of course energy. Because here's the thing, while the water thing, for some of you, you might be like, yeah, actually, that's going to be a stretch for me. I really do want to drink water or more water. And that sounds like a lot of water. Okay. So what we don't want to do is start from a place of wishy, hopey, like, hope I can drink enough water. And let's say the goal's bigger than that. Hope I land that client. I hope I, whatever that is, cross the finish line. Like, we don't want to start from that place of wishy-hopey because that's already a place of disbelief.
That's like
Let's flip.
trying, right? I'll try.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. So instead, let's tap into our of course energy. And of course energy is that having, that it is done energy. How do we tap into that? Find some that you don't have to overthink this. A way of being where, of course, you show up that way. Of course, you walk the dog. Of course, you kiss the kids goodnight. Of course, and maybe you go, of course, you drink water when you wake. Of course, you brush your teeth in the morning. Of course, you find some of course energy, either neutral or empowered of course energy. Tap into it, see it, hear it, feel it, taste it, smell it. Like feel yourself just habitually being this person. Of course, I show up like this for myself. Call it in. Now copy and paste that energy onto your mental rehearsal. Now you've just put the secret sauce of course energy on it. And so you're already at this higher frequency of having, of it is done. So mental rehearsal is an amazing way to start reprogramming your subconscious. You start flexing that confidence muscle, that subconscious confidence muscle, and what's going to happen? Your brain's going to delete, distort, and generalize based on what you are now showing it all the time. Your RAS is going to start showing you all these ways, bringing you new opportunities to drink more water, to have another glass, to whatever kind of thing. So that is one of my favorite ways. And the other one is I call them alchemized affirmations. Because your brain will call BS on stuff too, right? Like I said before, if you just go, oh, I'm a millionaire, lots of you went, ha, sure, right? Like that's not true. Great. I love a good alchemized affirmation, which is a stair step affirmation. This is you intentionally speaking in the direction of something that you want. So if it is a millionaire, if you do want to be a millionaire, there's so many ways that you can start priming the pump for that, start priming your brain for that. And one could be, I'm a woman who sees path to making more money that can get me to $1 million. I'm a woman who I'm becoming a woman who knows how to create $1 million. Or I am a woman who is, and then put a current level, like whatever that current level is, and I'm growing into XYZ. I'm becoming, I'm learning, I am, like all of those. You get to stair step your affirmations and feel them, feel how they feel. And then when they're just a little bit stretchy, like, oh, I could stretch that a little bit. Okay, great. Lean in and then bump that affirmation up. Because what's going to happen, delete, distort, and generalize, you're going to start seeing ways to embody this woman even more, to shed the conditioning that's keeping you not being her when this is who you deserve, desire to be.
I love that. And I think that's super tangible in terms of like what you could actually start doing now. And a way to like sort of supercharge your affirmations and visualization because they can work. But it's really tapping into like the realness and the emotions of it, I think. And then, of
Mm-hmm.
course, if you want to dive deeper, there are things like NLP, hypnosis, which can just like go deep in the subconscious, which I know you do as well. So I think we could just keep going forever, but I know we're
I
getting to the
know.
hour. So I'd love for you to share, yeah, if you know where people can find you, if they want to work with you or, explore things deeper with you, let us know how we can, yeah, go deeper with this.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I have a limited edition 10 episode podcast that I'd love to share with you. And if you find me on Instagram and DM me podcast, I will send you the link. And I love to like be in the DMs and support. So definitely find me on Instagram and hit me up. Again, send me a message with podcast. I will send you the link, and then you can go even down a deeper rabbit hole with a lot of the stuff that we talked about today, NLP, hypnosis, a bunch of my favorite tools
Oh
too.
yeah, we didn't even get into all of it. So we
Yeah,
might have to get you
yeah,
back on here. Thanks
absolutely.
so
My
much.
pleasure.
I will put all of the links needed in the show notes and the description. Thank you so much, Mindy, for coming on and sharing your expertise and everything. I think it's been such an enlightening convo. So thank you so much.
Thank you.